Hey, thanks for clicking on my face. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, and this is a review of My Father's Dragon. This is currently on Netflix, and it has audio description. I'm a blind film critic, and I review films with audio description, and we talk about it. That's what we do here on my channel. Talk about accessibility. It's great. Good things. All good things. So what is My Father's Dragon? Well, it's an animated offering for kids that is based on a children's book. It's from an animated company called Cartoon Saloon. And the only reason I point that out is because another critic that I follow pointed it out and followed that up with like the importance of it, right? Like what's your favorite Cartoon Saloon movie? And I was like, what the hell is Cartoon Saloon? I'm assuming that this movie was made like overseas, because I have no idea what that is. And this movie wasn't good enough to make me go, ooh, I want to check out other things by Cartoon Saloon. So I didn't look it up. So as an introduction to their work, this was not the film that should have introduced me to cartoon. Maybe they've made something before that I liked. I don't know. But they're not a studio that pops for me. It's not like when somebody asks me, what's your favorite Studio Ghibli? I go, oh, cool. That's an answer I can actually give. Spirited Away. But this is like, no, I have no idea what Cartoon Saloon is or what movies they've made. So if you're a fan, cool. This is a young boy named Elmer, I guess, who one day will grow up to hunt rabbits. Is sitting at home with his mom. They're trying to figure out how to live. They're like destitute, basically. They're all on their own. She wants to open a store. Dad's going. It's very sad. Yeah, she rents this place from a landlord that's voiced by Rita Moreno. Elmer is voiced by Jacob Tremblay. There's another tenant in the building that I believe is voiced by Diane Wiest. This film has a just tremendous voice cast. When it's like deep, all of the tiny parts are voiced by people who you're like, wow. Like, Rita Moreno's not in this film for very much, neither is Diane Wiest, but they showed up and read like 5 lines and then left. The mother, I have no idea who it is. I mean, I saw the actress's name, but she was like the only person I didn't recognize in this deep ensemble, except like really tiny roles, like way at the end of the cast list. And she was also my least favorite voice actress of the thing. She just it was very lethargic, and I know she's supposed to be really exhausted throughout parts of the film, but even in the parts where she's more elated, it still feels like she needs a lot of sleep. You know, it was very like a performance on Ambien. I don't know how else to describe that. It was a very odd sort of depressed, even when you're supposed to not be conveying depression. The whole thing just was very tonally bizarre to me. But Elmer and his mom end up in this apartment, and originally they're like, we don't want kids, and basically they end up fighting, and Elmer, he's found this cat, and this cat runs with him. This one's very hard to describe to make sense. He runs off, and the cat runs off, and then the cat starts talking, and I'm like, oh my god, we're in luck. And then it turns out we're not in luck, but the cat has important information. The cat's like, listen, I'm Whoopi Goldberg from The View, and I can help your situation out. There is a dragon. Yeah. And the kid's like, what? I don't believe in dragons. And the cat's like, I'm a talking cat. And he's like, oh, you're right. There's a dragon. So he hops on a whale and he sails out to an island to rescue a dragon. This film takes this film starts off very like deep into like average normal life, and then within moments it's like on a fantastical journey that makes no sense. So the whale talks to the whale. Judy Greer was the whale. I'm telling you, this cast is insane. Netflix spared no expense on the voice cast here. And they go to like the island of tangerines first, and then they finally go out to the island of I can't remember, but it's like the island of teeth or something. It's all these angry animals that live on this island, but the island is sinking, and there's a dragon that is chained and has to keep flying to keep the island from sinking. And so it's up to little Elmer to free the dragon. But once he does that, he realizes that the dragon, Boris, voiced by Gaten Matarazzo, is actually supposed to save the island. Like, that's his task. There's some... Please don't make me explain it. He becomes like an after dragon if he if he saves the island from every like 100 years. A dragon comes and saves the island, and this is it's Boris's time to save the island. Of course, he's voiced by Gaten Matarazzo, so he sounds goofy, but like intentionally so. So you believe, you're like, oh, they sent this guy to save the island this time. Okay. And Elmer has to figure out how to save Boris and also save the island. And there's a thing with like this tortoise that's been around. They're trying to find this tortoise. And meanwhile, they're being chased around the island by Ian McShane. And it'd be funny if it was actually Ian McShane. But it's a bunch of animals. It's a bunch of like other, like a lot of monkeys and just other, there's like alligators and stuff that are on this. There's a whole bunch of different creatures that are on this island, and they're all voiced by different characters. Jackie Earle Haley is in this. Yeah, just a bunch of, the voice cast runs pretty wide. I'm forgetting some names, but they're all these characters have somebody important voicing them. Anyway, so yeah, they have to figure out how to save the island and save the dragon. And if he saves the dragon, then he can take the dragon home, and that he can have the dragon do shows and give rides, and he can earn money, and he can save his mom from just crippling poverty. And that's what the film is about. In a nutshell. And I know that's not a nutshell. That is the largest nutshell I've ever given you. But this film is a lot. I'm sure kids will like it. It's made for kids. It's got to be made for kids. This film doesn't really take a huge approach at adult themes. It opens up some really interesting doors about, ownership of another being or another person, but they never really address the how that's wrong to chain up somebody like that, which is one of the things that the film goes where it's supposed to go and obviously doesn't promote it, but at the same time it also could have had more of a profound statement about why this is bad, with Elmer having a "Genie, you're free" moment. His moment just kind of feels very underwhelming, and then like the story just kind of finishes, and the story finishes so abruptly too. There's like no ending to this. It's just like he returns home and like everything's like just end. Like he just makes it back to the mainland and it's like movie over. Like there's no like, well, how'd the family turn out? Are they okay? Did we save them from crippling poverty? Why was this film? Why did this film exist? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this film. It wasn't terrible. The voice cast, because they hired, aside from the mother, they hired like heavy hitters it's pretty solid. Although I have to say, I did not like Gaten Matarazzo in this at all. I didn't think he was good. I didn't think he was voicing the dragon very well. I don't think he was voicing Boris. I don't think Jacob Tremblay is getting up there in age, and having two little kids, sort of two people who sound like little kids voicing the two little roles together, I'm not sure if that benefited this. I think Boris probably should have sounded older than Jacob Tremblay, and Gaten sounds a little too close to Jacob Tremblay's age. So it just sounded like a little kid was trying to save the island. And I'm not really sure that that's what it was supposed to be. That they were chaining a child and having a child fly up and save the island. Plus, you don't know how long he's been there already. So wouldn't he have aged at least over the time? Isn't that why he needs to be rescued, is because he's been there for a while? When did he start doing this? Like, if he's a young dragon, when did he start doing this? Like a baby? Like, did he fly there as a baby and they were like, ooh, let's chain the baby up, you know? It's just a very weird film that way. Try not to overthink it, but if your kids want to watch it, I guess let them watch it. I wouldn't rush to see this. The audio description is fine. There's a lot of this whole thing is it's a convoluted plot that makes little to no sense, and the audio description helps to make it make sense. There are things that happen in the film that I feel like weren't even really explained. There's a whole thing about roots that they don't really come into play until the film needs them to come into play. I've seen this film tracked on the potential for like Oscar nominations, and I really hope we have stronger nominees than this, because if this film gets an Oscar nomination this year, it's not very well written. They would just be sort of in this moment of awe of the really stacked voice cast, which really isn't fair to just say, oh, the voice cast was really good, because they are. I mean, Ian McShane is great in this, but very appropriately cast. So, and Jacob Tremblay actually does a really good job with Elmer, so I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with most of the voice cast, just two characters I would have recast. I don't know, this film just didn't really do much for me. And I don't know that it'll do much for your kids. I mean, we've seen so many films about dragons recently, and Netflix released a film earlier this year, The Sea Beast, which has a lot more emotional resonance and cohesion to the story, and characters that make sense, and investing in a culture, and everything. It just has a lot more to it than this film does. Even Wendell and Wild, which they just released a couple weeks ago, has a lot more creativity to it, a lot more ingenuity. It makes more sense. This is just kind of like, why? Then again, I didn't read the kids' book because I'm not a 5-year-old. So I'm guessing this movie is aimed at elementary school children. It doesn't have a lot of jokes for adults. It's not one of those films where they throw in a lot of wink, wink, nudge, nudges. This film is aimed at kids, so I'm trying to also keep that in mind. But at the same time, the quality of films we make for kids nowadays still is a lot better than this. Granted, we're making Paw Patrol movies, so I could be wrong, but I'm going in a pretty neutral score here. So I'm going to give My Father's Dragon a C. Another reason, and this is just sort of an afterthought, it didn't really affect me. I don't understand the title, My Father's Dragon. I don't understand why that was the title for this film. I think there were 100 different more interesting titles for this film, and they went with My Father's Dragon, which is not really the overarching theme of this film. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for this film. It doesn't really make any sense for this film based on the plot of the film and the story. It just kind of doesn't. It'll leave you kind of head scratching as to why they picked My Father's Dragon. So, that's it. If you've stayed this long, you might like me a little bit. So please click subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers this year. I think that would be great. You can go to my website, macthemovieguy.com. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org, and it'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the adna.org. That's the adna.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite movies and TV shows. That's it for me today. But I guess maybe at some point I'll review something else by Cartoon Saloon. But until then, I'll see you on the other side.